3 days before the biggest fight of his life, Muhammad Ali stood in the African heat answering questions from reporters, signing autographs, playing to the crowd. He was 32 years old, past his prime according to experts, about to face George Foreman, the hardest puncher in boxing history. Everyone thought Ali was going to get killed. And then a child asked him why he did it. Why risk his life in the ring? Ali stopped, looked at the boy, and gave an answer that had nothing to do with boxing and everything to do with why he was really there. Kinshasa, Zaire, October 27, 1974. The fight, The Rumble in the Jungle, was scheduled for October 30 at 4 a.m. local time so it could be broadcast live in the United States during prime time. But in the days leading up to the fight, Ali was doing what he always did. Working the crowd. Building the spectacle. Making himself larger than life. Zaire, now the Democratic Republic of Congo, was still under the control of dictator Mobutu Sese Seko. Mobutu had paid Ali and Foreman $5 million each to bring the fight to Africa, using it as propaganda to show the world that Zaire was modern, sophisticated, powerful. But for the people of Zaire, especially the children, this fight meant something completely different. It meant seeing Muhammad Ali in person. The man who'd stood up to the United States government. The man who'd refused to fight in Vietnam and gone to prison for his beliefs. The man who said he was the greatest and somehow made you believe it. On October 27, Ali was at a public appearance in a makeshift arena on the outskirts of Kinshasa. It wasn't formal. No stage, no microphones, just Ali standing in the dirt surrounded by thousands of people who'd walked miles to see him. Reporters were there, cameras were there, but mostly it was just people. Families. Children. People who'd never seen a celebrity before, let alone Muhammad Ali. Ali was in his element. Shaking hands, kissing babies, shadowboxing with kids, making jokes in broken French that nobody really understood but everyone laughed at anyway. He was wearing simple training clothes, a white t-shirt and dark pants, already sweating in the humid African heat. The crowd pressed in close, everyone trying to touch him, to get his attention, to have a moment with the champion. Ali's entourage, his trainers and security, tried to maintain some space, but it was impossible. This wasn't an American crowd with barriers and security protocols. This was raw, unfiltered adoration. And Ali loved it. He fed off the energy, the noise, the chaos. A reporter from Sports Illustrated shouted a question about George Foreman. Ali immediately launched into his routine. Foreman can't beat me. Foreman's too slow, too stiff. I'm gonna dance around him like a butterfly. He's gonna swing at air until he's so tired he falls down. Then I'm gonna sting him and it's over. The crowd cheered. Ali grinned. Foreman hits hard, but you can't hit what you can't catch. And nobody catches Muhammad Ali. More questions came. About his training. About his strategy. About whether he was scared. Ali answered each one with the same bravado, the same confidence. But it was performance. Everyone who knew Ali understood that. The real Ali, the private Ali, was more complex, more thoughtful than the public persona suggested. But that private Ali rarely appeared in front of cameras. That's when it happened. The crowd shifted slightly, and a small boy squeezed through to the front. He couldn't have been more than 12 years old. Barefoot, wearing shorts and a faded t-shirt that was too big for him. His name was Samuel, though Ali would never learn that. The boy looked up at Ali with wide, serious eyes and asked in halting English, "Mr. Ali, why do you fight?" The crowd noise didn't stop immediately. People were still shouting questions, still pressing forward. But Ali heard the boy. He looked down at him, and something in the simplicity of the question made him pause. Reporters asked why he thought he'd win. Fans asked how he trained. But this child asked why he fought at all. Why step into a ring where another man was trying to hurt you? Why risk your health, your life, for a sport? Ali held up his hand, gesturing for quiet. Slowly, the crowd settled. 50,000 people in that makeshift arena and the surrounding area, all watching, all waiting. Ali knelt down so he was eye level with the boy. Why do I fight? Ali repeated. That's a good question, little brother. Better than most questions I get. He smiled, but it wasn't his usual showman smile. It was thoughtful, almost sad. You know what most people think? Ali said, his voice carrying across the now silent crowd. They think I fight for money. For fame. For championship belts. And yeah, those things are nice. Money feeds my family. Fame gives me a platform. Belts prove I'm the best. He paused, looking not just at the boy but at the entire crowd. But that's not why I really fight. The reporters leaned in, cameras rolling. This wasn't the Muhammad Ali they were used to. This was something different. Something real. I fight because I'm black, Ali said simply. And in the world I grew up in, being black meant being told you're not good enough. Not smart enough. Not strong enough. Not worthy. I fight to prove them wrong. Every time I step in that ring, I'm fighting for every black person who's ever been told they can't. That they're less than. That they should know their place. The crowd was absolutely silent now. You could hear the wind rustling through the trees. Mothers held their children closer. Men stood with their arms crossed, listening intently. When I fought Sonny Liston and became champion, I proved a black man could be the best in the world at something, Ali continued. When I refused to go to Vietnam, when I said, I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong, I proved a black man could stand up to the government and survive. They took my title. They took my license to box. They were gonna put me in prison. But I survived because I had something they couldn't take. My dignity. My principles. Ali looked back at the boy who'd asked the question. So why do I fight George Foreman in 3 days? Yeah, I want to win my title back. Yeah, I want the world to see I'm still the greatest. But more than that, I'm fighting because President Mobutu brought this fight to Africa. To Zaire. Because for the first time in history, the biggest sporting event in the world is happening on African soil. And millions of people around the world are gonna watch. They're gonna see this beautiful country. These beautiful people. They're gonna see that Africa isn't what the movies and the news tell them it is. Africa is powerful. Africa is the future. The crowd erupted. Cheering, crying, chanting Ali's name. But Ali wasn't done. He raised his hand again, asking for quiet. But here's the most important part, little brother, he said to Samuel. I fight so that kids like you don't have to. Not with your fists. You can fight with your mind. With your education. With your dreams. You don't need to get hit in the head to prove you're strong. You prove it by building something. By helping people. By being more than the world expects you to be. Ali stood up, put his hand on the boy's shoulder. What do you want to be when you grow up? Samuel looked overwhelmed, tears in his eyes. He stammered in French, and someone in the crowd translated. He says he wants to be a doctor. To help people. Ali smiled, that huge, genuine Muhammad Ali smile. Then you be a doctor. You be the best doctor Zaire has ever seen. You help people who can't help themselves. That's fighting. That's being a champion. That matters more than any boxing match. Ali reached into his pocket and pulled out a small piece of paper. He scribbled something on it, folded it, and handed it to Samuel. You keep this. When things get hard, when people tell you that you can't do it, you read this and remember that Muhammad Ali believed in you. The crowd pressed in again, the moment breaking, everyone wanting to talk to Ali, to touch him. Samuel was swept back into the mass of people, clutching that piece of paper like it was the most valuable thing in the world. Ali went back to signing autographs, taking pictures, being the showman. But something had shifted. The people who'd witnessed that exchange, the 50,000 who'd heard what Ali said, they'd seen something rare. The real man behind the bravado. 3 days later, Ali fought George Foreman in one of the greatest upsets in boxing history. He used his rope-a-dope strategy, letting Foreman punch himself into exhaustion, then knocking him out in the 8th round. Ali regained his heavyweight championship and cemented his legend. The fight was watched by 1 billion people worldwide, the biggest television audience in history at that time. And just like Ali had predicted, the world saw Africa. Saw Zaire. Saw that this continent could host a major sporting event. But that fight, as historic as it was, isn't the most important part of this story. Samuel, the boy who'd asked the question, went home that day with Ali's note. He didn't show it to anyone for weeks. It was too precious, too personal. When he finally unfolded it, the note read, to Samuel. You will be a doctor. You will save lives. You will make me proud. Never stop fighting for your dream. Your friend, Muhammad Ali. Samuel kept that note for the rest of his life. And he did become a doctor, though the path wasn't easy. He studied at the University of Kinshasa, working multiple jobs to pay for school. When civil war broke out in Zaire in the 1990s, Samuel could have left, could have gone to Europe or America where doctors had safer, more lucrative careers. But he remembered what Ali had said. About fighting for people who can't fight for themselves. About being more than the world expects. In 2004, 30 years after that day with Ali, Samuel opened a hospital in rural Kivu province. It started small, just a few rooms, basic equipment. But it grew. Today, that hospital has 240 beds and serves over 15,000 patients a year in one of the poorest, most war-torn regions of the Democratic Republic of Congo. They treat everything from malaria to war injuries to complications from childbirth. They train local healthcare workers. They provide free care to anyone who needs it. Samuel named the hospital, the Champion's Hope, a tribute to the day Muhammad Ali told him to fight with his mind instead of his fists. In 2015, a year before Ali died, a documentary filmmaker doing a story on healthcare in the Congo interviewed Samuel. The filmmaker asked him why he'd stayed in such a dangerous place when he could have had an easier life elsewhere. Samuel pulled out a worn, yellowed piece of paper from his wallet. Ali's note, barely legible after 4 decades of being carried everywhere Samuel went. This is why, Samuel said. Muhammad Ali told me I would save lives. He believed in me when I was just a poor kid with nothing. I couldn't let him down. I couldn't let down all the people who need help. The filmmaker contacted the Ali family, showed them the footage of Samuel and the hospital. Muhammad Ali was already deep into his struggle with Parkinson's disease by then, unable to speak clearly, but when they showed him the video, his daughter Layla said her father cried. He didn't remember the specific boy or the specific conversation. How could he? Ali had met millions of people, had hundreds of interactions like that one. But the impact was real. The legacy was real. Muhammad Ali died on June 3, 2016. The world mourned. Presidents and kings gave eulogies. Millions of words were written about his boxing career, his activism, his courage. But in a small hospital in Kivu province, Samuel gathered his staff and patients and told them the story of the day he met Ali. How a simple question had received an answer that changed his life. How Ali's belief in him had sustained him through decades of struggle. Mr. Ali never knew my name, Samuel said, his voice breaking. But he gave me something more valuable than money or fame. He gave me purpose. He told me that helping people was the real fight. And he was right. Today, the Champion's Hope Hospital continues to operate. They have a photo of Muhammad Ali on the wall in the main entrance. Next to it, framed and preserved behind glass, is the original note Ali wrote to Samuel in 1974. Patients who come to the hospital often stop to read it. Many don't know who Muhammad Ali was. The younger generation doesn't remember the fights, the controversies, the legend. But they understand the message. Fight for something bigger than yourself. Use your gifts to help others. Be more than the world expects. The story of Muhammad Ali and Samuel reminds us that the most important victories don't always happen in stadiums with millions watching. Sometimes they happen in quiet moments with one person and one question. Ali's greatest knockout wasn't George Foreman in the 8th round. It was knocking down the walls of impossibility in a 12-year-old boy's mind and showing him that dreams were worth fighting for. Not with fists, but with dedication, education, and compassion. Muhammad Ali fought 61 professional boxing matches. He won 56 of them. But his real record, the fights that truly mattered, can't be counted in wins and losses. They're counted in lives changed. In children who believed they could be more because Ali told them they could. In hospitals built. In dreams realized. In a legacy that extends far beyond sports into the realm of human dignity and possibility. When Samuel was asked in that 2015 interview what he wanted people to know about Muhammad Ali, he thought for a long moment. Then he said, "People remember Ali as the greatest boxer." And he was. But he was also the greatest believer. He believed in me when nobody else did. Not even me. That's real greatness. Making others believe in themselves. That's the untold story of Muhammad Ali in Zaire. Not just the rumble in the jungle, though that was historic. But the rumble in one boy's heart. The fight to become something more. The knockout blow against poverty and limitation and despair. That's the fight Ali was really there for. And 30 years later, that fight created the champion's hope, a place where Ali's spirit of fighting for others lives on every single day. If this story moved you, subscribe for more untold stories about the moments that made legends truly legendary. Hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to hear about the power of believing in others and yourself.